Hello everyone, my name's Wyatt. Welcome to XALT Ministries. Today is kind of like a little special video. I was talking to a friend of mine and he asked me he's like, where did you come up with XALT Ministries? And truth be told, I'm actually not the person that came up with it. The person who did come up with it was actually my wife. And it was during a time when we were still worship leading at one of our former church. And the thought came up because one of the our pianists that we had in our team, she was part of a band that was actually called Generation Chi. Actually, Chi was actually X, so Generation X was the name of the band. And so she said the reason that they chose that name was because Generation Chi, the X, actually would also interpret in Greek as Christ. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but we also have like a lot of things like commercially, like everyone calls it Xmas. If you ever never heard of the term called Xgen, which is X-I-A-N, is an abbreviation for Christian. The only way that people are actually going to be able to take Christ out of Christmas is to literally take off the X or take off Christ and just call it Mass. No pun intended to the Catholics, but that will be the only way like people really try and take Christ out of Christmas is literally to take the entire name off and just call it Mass. That's just a side note. But anyways, that's where it came from. And you say, okay, well, that's where the X part came from. What about the alt part? Well, the alt part came out of a little bit of, for me, because I'm a computer savvy type of person. And I've kind of been teaching my wife over the past few years all the stuff that I've just learned and accumulated. And the reason she came with XALT was she says, well, think about the alt button on your keyboard. The alt button on your keyboard, as soon as you press it, completely changes your keyboard layout entirely. Like if you hit like your alt F1, F2, F3, F4 keys, alt UI, all those things. Now, if you know about like special characters such as like in like Spanish, like when Señor has I think it's called a tilde over top of the N, that is like it's like alt 1 something. It's a 3-number combination after the alt key. So the alt key changes the entire thing. So if you put the whole thing together, you have Christ, then you have alt. So you have Christ alters or Christ changes, and that's the story behind XALT Ministries. Is that once you let Christ into your life, He will fundamentally change your life and show you, not give you the purpose. He already gave you a purpose. He will show you that purpose, and then from then on, you can start to grow in Him and then grow in the path that He has taken you on. And that is how XALT Ministries came to be. I only started playing guitar for less than 4 years at the time of this video. I started in 2011, if I remember right. Let's see, not 2011. It was the fall of 2012, about August, September in there. 2010. I cannot get my years right. 2010, about August 2010 is when I started, because it was the fall before I got married, which is in January of 2011, was when I started just learning guitar. And so when I learned it, I didn't have a passion for it at all. I didn't know a single thing about guitar. I'm not even kidding you. I did not know the string names. I barely knew the parts of guitar, maybe enough to hold it. So when I started learning guitar, I had like one of those, kind of like guitar how-to DVDs. Well, they didn't really tell you much of anything. I mean, they didn't even tell me a C chord, you muted the 6th string to get the dominant C note. Like, I didn't know any of that. So when I was playing a C chord, I was playing actually a C over E chord. It was totally the wrong thing. But anyways, that's how I started. Just God put this in me, says, I need to play guitar. I had no clue what. I was like, God, why would I need to play guitar? I have no interest in it. I love my music. I did love my music. I was a complete audiophile when it came to music. I actually loved it. I had a car audio system, my car and all that. I had headphones, my computer had a great little sound system to it. I love my music. But making the music, I left up to everybody else. So when it came down to that part, that I was at the church and God says, I want you on that stage. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I love my worship music, but I have no clue what to do up there. But God says, I need you up there. And so I answered and said, okay, I'll try. That's all God asked for, is that you just obey and trust in Him. And that's all I could do, because I couldn't do anything else. And so what happened is that I got up there and I started playing. And believe me, they had me on the lowest volume possible. I mean, I didn't even know how to tune a guitar. The kit that I bought was a simple kit. It was a guitar, a pick and like a little 5-watt amp. I mean, it was a very small kit. I think it cost me like $130 or something. It was a little electric starter kit. It was the very, very basic. I probably wouldn't even buy anyone now because it was that basic. But I didn't know how to tune a guitar, so all my strings are out of tune. I'm trying to play chords, and I'm just watching the other, the worship leader who is a very good friend of mine, still to this day. And he was doing it, but he's not exactly the best in teaching guitar, so I just kind of had to learn from watching, which is actually I'm very good. I'm a very, very good visual learner. I'm photographic memory, all that good stuff. So I learned from him just watching him how to do it, and I still didn't know about tuning until another pastor that I knew of at the time who was very good at music. He's been doing guitar for 20 years. He can do guitar, banjo, ukulele. He can even play a harmonica all at the same time with the guitar. It's phenomenal. But then he came up and said, well, your guitar's out of tune. I was like, what do you mean out of tune? I thought they just stayed in tune. I didn't know. And so he tuned the guitar up, and then when I started stringing the strings, I was like, man, that sounds a lot better. And so I started from ground zero. I didn't know a parts guitar. I didn't even know how to tune a guitar. I didn't know anything. But fast forward a little while longer, we went through from that worship leader that was with at that time. Him and his wife ended up leaving, and then after that, we got another worship leader who came in very unexpectedly. Lasted a little while. He was actually younger than me, but he knew music. He was very confident in singing, and that was his strong point. He was a very confident singer musician, so he could lead. And then after that, where I was at, that church hit that my former pastor's wife. From there, she did it, but she was having trouble physically, like standing for long periods of time. She had some physical inabilities, and during that time was when I was actually starting to get really good on guitar. Like, I could strum and everything. I was starting to get my vocalization going. That's an interesting word. And, to that point, I didn't know a whole lot of guitar. To tell you the truth, I think the only key I knew at that time was how to play key of G and how to use a cable to transpose. That was literally all I needed, all I knew. Until one Sunday, when we were sitting there, and my pastor and his wife, they had two different vehicles. He drove separately because he wanted to get there early, and his wife came later. Well, it turned to find out his wife had car trouble or accident or something to where she could not make it. So we have a worship team that's got to get ready to worship and can't because our worship leader is gone. And when the pastor's back there, he's like, look, my wife is not going to be able to make it. And he says, I need somebody here to be able to step up and do worship for that day. And for some reason, I'm the one like, okay, let's do it. And he kind of looks at me like that quick. I was like, worship is it's got to be done. Someone's got to lead it. And so I just took the initiative and did it. And that time when I did it, we went through songs, of course, we had to change up a few things to where I was comfortable with it. But that was probably one of the most powerful worship services I've ever hosted. Was my very first one. And it was very emotional for me, of course. I'm the one up sitting there leading, but it was at that time that I realized that when I was singing, this is almost like my testimony at the same time. Sorry I'm rambling on. All this is about XALT Ministries, but I wanted to do a backstory about me and how this all came to be. And at that time is where God finally said, now look at where you're at. And I don't take credit for it at all. I just follow what He's put on my heart. Because if I take credit, it means now that I'm starting to get a big head, and that is not where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be the humble people that just do His work and do what He says, and then allows Him to lead us to where He wants us to be. And so now I got to that point where I was worship leading, and I was having a blast doing it. I started getting a couple new people on board, and because of my ability to teach, which I was starting to step into, and I knew what it was like to start at ground zero. I knew what it was like to not know how to tune a guitar, and I had someone start coming to my church through a friend that was part of our pianist at that time, and he just came on, and he was I can't remember how this even came to be. He's still a very good friend of mine. His name's Adam. I love him dearly as a friend, and he became my bass player. He didn't know bass guitar, and you're thinking, well, bass guitar is easy. He's like, well, it's not exactly that. He was not very musically inclined. He literally busted his butt to get to where he's at now, where he's very comfortable on bass. and I absolutely love having him on stage because he's a funny guy. But now he was comfortable on bass, so I had a comfortable bass player. I had a piano player that was way more far ahead in music than I could ever be, but still be able to play along with me and be able to follow behind me, which is incredible. Her name was Sam at the time, and if Sam, if you're watching this video, please contact me. I'd like to get a hold of you again. And so, like, that's what was the building. And then, like, we went through a few different names, but then when my wife came up with that name, XALT Ministries, and told me, because our pianist, there's two different piano players, by the way, after Sam ended up going our parting ways and we got a new one. Her name's Angie. That was still there to this time. She came in, that's where, about the Generation Kai thing, and then when she says, well, what about, XALT? And I was like, well, XALT's kind of original, isn't it? And she says, no. She's like, not XALT, like the X. She says, just the X separate, the alt separate, and then, XALT, and then worship, because we were the worship team at the time. I was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, well, he said X means Christ, right? I was like, yeah, but like, well, what about alt on a keyboard? And since I'm computer savvy, I was like, I like that a lot, and I stuck with it. And that's what we call, like, XALT worship. It was just a kind of a name we put on ourselves. We just kind of like, put a name to the team. But then after my wife and I ended up parting ways with the church, I was like, after a while, I was not doing worship anymore. I was not doing like songs and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, okay, it's time for me to finally take the XALT name and put it to good use doing something. And I was like, and then I found out that I was able to pick up songs very quickly. I was able to be able to do strum patterns. I only knew like 2 strum patterns at the time, which is still my most popular one, and then my second or third most popular. Anyways, and that's how all that came to be. And now I'm to where I'm at with XALT Ministries, which I just got to 54 subscribers, which, tell you the truth, is actually absolutely blows me away that I even have that many people that are subscribed that want to consistently watch my videos. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope to grow even more. But I also hope to grow this ministry even more. I have a friend of mine who's getting really good at preaching, and very soon I will have a video that I will be personally endorsing him because I want to see him grow and I want to see him thrive. And to tell you the truth, if he even would do a video ministry, I'd also love him to do a video, like a preaching video, no matter how long, because I don't care if it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a half hour, hour and a half, and just put on here as, like a guest speaker type of thing. And I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to give people a foundation where to start. And they said, well, how do you get to the point you're at? I was like, I'll show you how to get there, but better yet, I have people that watch. I have people that love the tutorials, but even though that behind the tutorials is me just following what God has provided for me, I know that is most of the story behind you guys as well, the people that are watching this. And I want to be able to bring people to say, hey, I have a talent. I have no clue how to progress this talent, and if my best ability, I'll help, but if not, I'll find other people that help, and then when you're ready, I will give you people to talk to, and that way you can start building your own audience. And so, you'll have the domino effect. I won't take any credit for it. I'm just giving people the podium to use and be able to do that. So eventually, yes, this is pretty much XALT Music Ministries, but eventually it'll just be XALT Ministries, and hopefully that will grow past that. My goal right now is to get to 1 guitar tutorial per day. That's going to take me a little longer to get because my schedule's been flipping. I just moved a month ago into my wife's grandparents' house, and it is chaotic sometimes. They're actually down right now in a hospital because my grandma is getting her last heart valve replacement done right now. Prayers for her. She did wonderful. She's in recovery, but it's just so chaotic. But once I start getting down to that, and as I also start a new job, I'm starting in 2 days. And so all this stuff is getting going, and once that's in a foundational matter where I actually have a schedule, I can start scheduling videos. Shoot, I might even do a talking video while I'm on the road. I don't know. But I want to be able to get to the point where it's a video a day, because then it means I can be consistent at that, and then that also means that the viewers will be like, hey, I need to recheck, XALT's feed real quick. They should have another video up today. And then something more for you to learn, because to tell you the truth, sometimes it's great to learn. A song might take you a week, but once you get really used to it, a song could take you 10 minutes to learn. And then you're thinking, okay, I need more. But enough of me rambling for right now. That is kind of the backstory of XALT Ministries, the backstory of me and what's happened with through my life. Anyways, I will end this video. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, Christ alters you and changes you and will change you, and that is the truth, and that is the name behind XALT Ministries. I'll also be doing a lot of website work as well. I do web design on the side, taught myself that, and hopefully we'll be building more tools. If you have any ideas for tools that you would like to see that can be done through a website, please get a hold of me. I might not be the best web designer, but I try very hard to make new stuff to help anyone I can. Thank you very much for watching this video, and you have a blessed day.